All right, another 60,000 acres deer season, and I'm finally getting to the woods for the first time today, at least with a bow in my hand. And I've had some pictures of a pretty good size buck coming out to what had been a bean field. It's been picked, but I'm gonna jump in there and see if there's been any more pictures of him. It's been about a week since I checked that camera, and he had been really close to daylight on really both sides. He'd been about 30 minutes from daylight in the morning, and honestly flirting with right at the edge of daylight in the evening. So I'm probably gonna sneak down a little bit. Wind is gonna be blowing out to the field tonight, but it's very light, and he's probably bedding downhill from where I'm gonna be setting up. So I'm gonna try to set up off to the side of this point a little bit, where hopefully my thermals will pull down a little bit. And first I'm gonna jump in, check that camera. If he was in there this morning and it gives me a good read which direction he went to bed, because he can go either direction off this point, then that'll kind of determine where I set up. If not, I'll just kind of have to read a little bit of the sign and jump in there a little ways and set up. It's about 80 degrees, and it's not ideal, but finally got a chance to get out and I'm going. So hopefully it all comes together tonight. It'd be crazy if it came together here on the first one. We'll just have to jump in there and see. All right, it's not a real long walk today because I got permission to walk across this private, which is really a huge deal. So it gets me back across this field without really having to traipse through any of the woods, not mess up any bedding or make any big loop around. Only thing is, I just got to make sure I keep the wind in the right spot. So I'll make it up through here, check this camera, and then dive in. Got up here to the top of this exposed hill. Figured it was the best place to check wind. It was supposed to be like southeast. It's more like due east right now, which isn't terrible. And honestly, what I like is it was supposed to only be like 4 miles an hour, and right now it's probably double that. So I would take the wind speed, even if it isn't as perfect a direction. So a little ways farther to go. I can't tell if that track's this morning. It's pretty fresh. It's kind of heading down the opposite side of this point from what I wanted to hunt. But it might be worth hunting. I would say there's a really good chance that's him. It's a pretty big track. There's several more here that are honestly maybe even bigger than that one. Just that one had the most defined little spot. So there were a couple of decent bucks on there since last week, but not the one that I'm really after. It makes me wonder what's down here. You know, there might be a couple of oak trees or something down here that are just really dropping a lot of acorns. Maybe that's what he's staying on. They're falling all over this point, so I think I'm just gonna creep in and try to find something to set up on. I obviously can't set up here because they're getting here like an hour after dark, so I need to get down in here a little bit, but I don't think, at the very most, he's about 300 yards back in here, but he could just be 100, 150. So I gotta take it slow here. I might only end up in the stand for an hour and a half tonight, but I don't want to blow him out. I shined this big deer back in here, and off the road. I shined him in July or August, which got me back in here. I scouted this in mid to late September, and it just didn't look like there were going to be really a whole lot of acorns. I don't know if this has happened all over this valley, but right here, there are a ton of white oak start bumping deer. I had picked a tree, got to the base of it, looked around, kind of half liked it, kind of didn't, and I just decided I needed to push in a little farther. I bumped this buck, or at least a big buck, out of his bed in September, pretty far down off of this thing. I don't know how much I can draw from that, but I decided I was a little too far up there. I was still only about 100 yards in from the edge of the field, and these deer are getting to the edge of the field at like an hour after dark, so I think I need to be farther in than 100 yards. So I did this, got down in here to where there's some rocks that kind of fall off in a little bit of a cliff. They have to find a way up through these rocks. I think I found maybe one of the better ways up through, and as I'm walking down through here, I found a pretty fresh scrape. It's not like a serious scrape, but definitely a scrape. So I'm just gonna creep a little farther down in here, probably get past this rock, and see what happens there. Might set up just past it. I just barely dipped off of those rocks there, and there's a big scrape that was just made right here. Probably made within the last 2 days. And then about 25 yards from that scrape, there's a rub on a tree. It's about the size of probably the size of my thigh, so I think this is probably the best situation right here. I'm about 175 yards off the field. I've come down one shelf off of that point, kind of two really, and I mean there's sign in here, not quite as many oak trees, but there are some smaller oak trees that are dropping right here, and there's just buck sign right here, so I think this is going to be the best setup for tonight. Alright, finally got settled in here. Got about 2 hours of daylight left. As I was climbing, I found 2 more scrapes around me, so I've got 4 scrapes within probably all within about 40 yards of me. And then there's this one big rub right here, so I don't know if it's going to work out with how warm and still it is. But I think I'm at least in a good spot here and giving myself a chance. Just gonna settle in here, get an arrow knocked, and get ready to roll. don't know how much we're going to be able to see in the video of that deer, but I got a pretty good look at him through the pine house. And he's a big one. I don't know if it's that 10-pointer that I've had on camera. He kind of seemed wider than that. But at any rate, no, he was a no-doubt shooter. Had a horse of a body too, so. He was kind of heading off into the valley, so I grunted at him. And he basically acted like he never heard it. I kind of think he heard it because it's pretty dang still here tonight, but. Pretty dang cool to come in here after him on an 80-degree day on the first set of the year and get to see him. And like I said, I don't know if it's that deer or not, but get to see a shooter. Maybe I should have just left him be. Maybe he was going to circle down and come up the hill to me, but those grunts might actually kept him from doing that, or maybe he'll show up here in the last 20 minutes or so, but if not, that'll be it. Wrap it up right here. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button, like it, all the things, and I'm going to try to put these out one of every hunt or so.